First I'm going to tell you the professional way of doing it, and then I'm going to tell you how I'm doing it. Before we're gonna start cutting and joining and taping and tapering our drywall, we need to make sure that the prep work is done first. Now there will be a perfect time to look for any imperfections on our plasterboard, like crushed corners, damaged paper, or damaged plasterboard itself. Once that has been taken care of, let's have a look at external corners of our plasterboards if they match. If the external edges are not aligned, let's make quick use of our retraceable knife and cut the excess material. Also, let's have a look if all drywall screws are driven deep enough and are not sticking out above the level of our plasterboard. In the video, you can see me installing angle bits with stapler gun. And I know that it's not exactly how we should to install them according to building technology. However, I'm installing them this way in my own house for around 2 years now. I cannot see any cracks or any damages because, first of all, I'm using tape and installing them in the area that they are not very likely to get impacted by anything and damaged. I think if we're gonna place them this way in high traffic area or just next to door frame, where the doors are hitting the door frame all the time, probably the cracks will be inevitable in reasonable short period of time. However, in this situation where I mounted angle beams to the ceiling that is built on the strong construction, I don't see how that might be the problem. But okay, we got our angle beams installed in this way or another. What's next? And the answer is taping. In this video, you will see me taping the living daylight out of this corner. I'm gonna put the tape on both sides of the angle beam and also in the corner between the ceiling and the drop. How I'm doing it is by applying the thin layer of plaster first and then embedding the tape inside. That will not look great when you're gonna finish, but also it doesn't have to. The goal here is to embed the tape and the angle beam into the plaster, and we don't really have to worry about it looking nice. In our next step, when we're gonna apply the skim coat over the ceiling, then we will ensure a nice and smooth finish of everything. And the last thing I want to mention is that I'm living in UK, and very popular plaster that is obviously used for plastering here is called Twistle Multi Finish. It is quite difficult to apply and then nearly impossible to sand down. Therefore, I don't really like to use it. I like to use plasters or coat layers that are quite easy to sand. My favorite one is called Make Good. They making them in 3 colors. There is red, green, and blue, I reckon. And the green one is the best one in my opinion. And just so you guys aware, this is my personal opinion. This video is not sponsored, unfortunately. and I'm just sharing with you what I like to use when I'm working. Last thing that is worth to mention, I think, is that when you using your plaster, use really thin layer that have to be just enough to embed the tape and not more than that. In the video now, I'm connecting plasterboards that have tapered edge to tapered edge. The technology here really mirrors what we've been doing before. So we're putting a really thin layer of plaster or filler and we're just embedding the tape in that. And that's it, to be honest. Slightly different connection here. Here we're connecting square edge plasterboard to square edge plasterboard. Very often you're gonna buy plasterboards that have only square edge. They don't have tapered edges. And I don't really understand why, because that makes the work way easier. However, even tapered edge plasterboards, once we're gonna cut them and we want to join them together, they still gonna have square edge to square edge connection. So we're gonna come across this sort of connection way often. The technology here is slightly different. So we're gonna use your retraceable knife to taper the edges of these plasterboards. What I mean by tapered, I mean cut like 1 centimeters from the edge on the angle of 45 degrees to create the space between the boards. That will create more space for the filler and ultimately will make the connection stronger. Any edges of the plasterboard that we previously cut, we should treat with the primer. Priming will increase the bonding strength once we apply our filler and will also reduce the surface thirst. I can't recommend you any primer because I don't really have my favorite product. Anything from Mepei is working quite well, and even PVA that is adhesive, if you're gonna mix it with water, makes really good primer. However, I can't remember now the exact proportions, so just please refer to manufacturer recommendation.
So that's our 4 types of connections done. Thanks for watching. If you find this video useful, please consider liking and subscribing it, as that's gonna really help my channel to grow. Thanks for watching.